The roses are in full bloom the day someone tries to rip Lena Fendler's life apart. Sunset bleeds over Fendler Manor, turning the rolling gardens into a sea of pink and gold. Vines of climbing roses spill over the old stone walls, and the fountain in the courtyard murmurs quietly. The air smells like sun-warmed petals and fresh grass, like every soft summer memory Lena has of this place. The threat comes in the shape of a black sedan, and a man who wears her last name like a weapon. The sedan crunches up the gravel driveway, too sleek, too polished for the worn cobblestones. Lena stands on the front steps, with a thin white envelope in her hand, pulse pounding against the paper. The envelope came from a law firm in Manhattan. The words inside are cold and sharp. Notice of intent to foreclose. Her uncle steps out of the car as if he owns the sky above the manor. Harvey Fendler adjusts his cufflinks, smoothing his expensive suit, his silver hair perfectly combed back. Two men in crisp shirts get out behind him, carrying folders and a rolled-up blueprint. Another SUV pulls in with a development company logo printed on the side. Mia, Lena's best friend and unofficial house manager, appears at her shoulder, wiping flour from her hands onto her apron. She smells like cinnamon and butter. Her dark eyes narrow as she takes in the scene. "Should I call the sheriff?" Mia whispers. "Not yet." Lena murmurs. "Let's hear his game first." "Lena, sweetheart." Harvey calls as he climbs the steps, fake warmth spreading over his face. "You look tired. This place must be too much for you to handle alone." "This place is fine," Lena says. "Why are you here?" Harvey gestures, and the developer steps forward with a practiced smile. "Miss Fendler," he says smoothly. "I am Collins, from East Ridge Development. Fendler Manor sits on extremely valuable land. Our company would like to acquire the property and turn it into a luxury resort. We are prepared to offer you $1 million in cash." Mia lets out a low whistle. "That is a lot of zeros," she mutters. Lena does not move. $1 million, for the house where she took her first steps, the orchard where her grandmother taught her how to graft branches, the tiny bedroom under the eaves where she cried the night her grandmother died. "Thank you," she says, voice steady. "But the manor is not for sale." Collins blinks, as if the word no does not compute. "You have to be realistic," he says. "The upkeep alone." "I said it is not for sale," Lena repeats. Harvey sighs dramatically and turns to Collins with a look of patient pity. "She is sentimental," he says. "My poor niece thinks she can run this place like her grandmother did, but times have changed. The bank letters are piling up, Lena. Do you really believe you can save this estate with your little jars of honey and weekend tours? You have not set foot here in 10 years. Lena says. "You do not get to stand on my steps and act like you care." Harvey's smile vanishes. "I care about the Fendler name," he snaps. Watching this manor slowly rot is an embarrassment. He snaps his fingers, and one of the suited men unrolls the blueprint on a portable board. A glossy artist's rendering stares up at Lena Fendler Manor replaced by sleek glass villas, the gardens flattened into parking lots, and a rectangular pool. The fountain is gone. The roses are gone. Even the crooked old oak by the back door is gone. "This is the future," Collins says. "Modern, profitable. Your grandmother left you a decaying estate. We are offering you a way out. Sign the transfer," Harvey adds, tapping the blueprint. "Take the money. Start a new life in the city. You are 22. You do not want to spend your best years chasing weeds out of gravel." Lena steps down from the doorway and plants herself between them and the front door. "This is my best life," she says quietly. "This house, these gardens, this land. I am not selling." Harvey's expression darkens. "The bank has already started foreclosure," he says. "The debt under your name is more than $200,000. What are you going to pay them with, Lena? Roses?" Mia shifts closer, bristling. "You knew about the debt and never offered to help," Mia says coldly. "Now you show up with a developer like some kind of savior? That is rich." Harvey makes a sharp gesture, and the men behind him push past, heading for the porch. "We are done playing," he says. "If you will not sign willingly, the bank will take this place anyway. I am just speeding up the inevitable." Lena blocks the doorway. "You are not coming into my grandmother's house," she says. "Move." Harvey snarls, reaching for her arm. Mia grabs his wrist mid-air. "Touch her and I swear I will introduce your face to the gravel," she says, voice shaking with anger. For a second, the summer evening freezes. Then the shrill cry of an engine shatters the tension. A sleek black sports car shoots through the open gates, engine roaring as it flies up the drive. It stops so suddenly the tires screech, dust swirling around it like smoke. The driver's door swings open. A man steps out with lazy grace. He wears a gray t-shirt, worn jeans, and a black baseball cap pulled low. Dark stubble shadows his jaw. Sunglasses hide his eyes. He should look like any other rich kid slumming it. Somehow, he does not. He walks toward the steps, a leather portfolio in his hand, as if strolling into a gallery instead of a war zone. This is private property. Harvey snaps. Who the hell are you? The man stops at the bottom of the steps and takes off his sunglasses, revealing cool gray eyes that sweep over the scene and land on Lena. Hi, he says casually. I am sorry I am late. I am the guy who called about the room. The room. Lena repeats. I heard you were renting out part of the manor. He says. Artist's residency, right? I am Ethan. Ethan Thorne. Harvey rolls his eyes. We do not have time for this. He says. Lena, send your little friend away. We are in the middle of a serious discussion. Ethan's mouth curves. Funny. He says. From where I am standing, it looks like harassment. Mia snorts softly. I like him. She whispers. Harvey takes a step down, looming over Ethan. This is a family matter. He says. You are not family. Thank God. Ethan says dryly. I would hate to share your DNA. Collins tries to regain control. This does not change the foreclosure. He says briskly. Any informal rental arrangements are irrelevant. I am not changing the foreclosure. Ethan says. I am buying time. I signed a 1-year lease with Ms. Fendler, paid in advance. He opens the portfolio and pulls out a stack of papers and a cashier's check. From what I understand about tenant law, he adds, you cannot just toss me out because a greedy relative wants to bulldoze the place. Harvey goes purple. Greedy relative? He sputters. Lena stares at the number on the check. It is more than she asked for. Double. Hope punches through her fear. Miss Fendler. Collins warns. If you refuse this offer, you could end up with nothing. Nothing is exactly what you will have when the bank takes this place. Harvey adds. Take the money. Lena looks at the blueprint that erases her life, at the roses glowing in the fading light, at the man who has just inserted himself into her fight. Her grandmother's voice echoes in her head. We do not sell our roots, little Rose. We grow from them. She straightens. My answer is still no. She says. I am not signing anything. You heard her. Ethan says, stepping up onto the first step, putting himself between Lena and the men on the porch. She said no. Now get off her property. You have no authority here. Harvey snaps. I am a paying tenant. Ethan says softly. And I am not going anywhere. So either you respect the owner's decision, or we can continue this conversation with her lawyer, or the sheriff. Your choice. Harvey glares at Lena one last time. This is not over. He hisses. When the bank comes, I will be there to pick up the pieces. He stalks away. Collins folds up the blueprint, shooting Lena a look that promises they will be back. Engines roar. Gravel spits. The cars roll down the drive and out of sight. Silence spills into their wake. Mia exhales. I was serious about the gravel thing. She mutters. Lena lets out a shaky laugh that almost turns into a sob. Ethan, right? She says, turning to him. You really wired a year of rent? Plus a little extra. He says. You looked like you could use it. Why? She asks. You do not even know me. He glances at the manor, at the worn stone and glowing windows. I know what it looks like when someone is trying to steal a home that matters. He says quietly. I am not a fan. He offers his hand. How about we go inside? He adds. And talk about terms. Lena hesitates, then takes it. For the first time since the foreclosure notice, the future does not look like rubble. It looks like a dangerous, uncertain path. It also looks a lot like the stranger on her steps. An hour after Harvey's car disappears, Fendler Manor smells like coffee and freshly baked cinnamon rolls instead of exhaust and fear. Mia insists on feeding Ethan before any serious discussion. She shoves a plate of rolls and a mug of coffee in front of him at the scrubbed pine kitchen table. Sunlight slants through the big window, catching in the dust motes. The old farmhouse sink gleams. The room feels like the center of a world that should be safe. Lena stares at the stack of legal envelopes in the middle of the table. The foreclosure notice is real. She says quietly. The bank wants the past due mortgage and the property tax by the end of the summer. I have been paying what I can, but tourism is slow. Weddings barely cover utilities. I have a tiny line of credit left for repairs. I am drowning. Ethan studies her instead of the paperwork. You have numbers? He asks. Lena slides a folder over. Ethan scans the spreadsheets and crumpled receipts with a frown that deepens the more he reads. His lazy air is gone. He looks sharp and focused, like a different man. Mia leans against the counter, arms folded. So, she says. Who exactly are you, Ethan Thorne? You do not look like the type who eats cold ramen in a studio apartment. His mouth quirks. I do own a decent suit, he says. But I am not here to rob you. I needed a place away from the city. A place where my family would not think to look. Why not? Lena asks. He shrugs, but it is too controlled to be casual. Because in their minds, anything outside a penthouse or a 5-star resort does not exist. He says. Which is exactly why I wanted somewhere like this. Lena glances toward the window, where the roses sway in the breeze. This is not a hideout, she says. It is a home. I know. Ethan says softly. That is the problem. People like your uncle only see the land under it. He taps the foreclosure notice. You are 3 months from losing this place, he says. Maybe less if Harvey pushes. You need cash, a plan, and breathing room. Breathing room feels like a luxury these days. Lena mutters. Ethan sets the papers down. Okay, he says. Let us talk about what I can actually offer. Rent, Mia says immediately. Real rent, not pity. Rent is a start. Ethan agrees. I wired a year in advance, like I said. That will buy time, but it may not be enough. The bank will still want proof you can sustain payments. He pauses. And I, he adds, have a different problem. Lena arches a brow. Let me guess, she says. You owe money to a developer too. Not exactly, he says. My family owns developers. Mia whistles softly. Knew it, she mutters. Ethan rubs a hand over his jaw. My parents run Thorne Global, he says. Real estate, hospitality, finance. They have this dream of merging with another dynasty, which requires me to be the shiny groom in a very public arranged marriage. Yikes, Mia says. Lena blinks. You are serious, she says. Unfortunately, Ethan says. I have dodged the conversation for years. They pushed things to a new level last week. They set a date for an engagement announcement gala at the end of summer. They expect me to stand on a stage with a woman I barely know and smile for the cameras. He meets Lena's gaze. I do not want that life, he says simply. I do not want their version of love, so I told them I needed time away to think. They gave me 2 months. After that, they expect me back in the city with a decision that looks a lot like yes. Mia narrows her eyes. And where does Lena fit in? She asks. Ethan's eyes do not leave Lena's face. My mother has one soft spot, he says. She believes in true love, in grand gestures and meant to be. If I show up with someone I am madly in love with, someone who clearly will never fit their polished world, she will at least hesitate before pushing the merger. It gives me leverage, maybe enough to renegotiate my role. Let me translate. Mia says dryly. You want to show up with a girlfriend they cannot control. Ethan nods. I need someone real, he says. Someone they cannot buy off. Someone stubborn enough to tell my parents no and mean it. His gaze is steady on Lena. And I think you qualify. Lena almost laughs. You want me to pretend to be your girlfriend, she says slowly. So your parents will call off an arranged marriage. In return, Ethan says, I help you keep this manor, not just barely afloat, stable, secure. Mia practically vibrates with interest. What kind of help are we talking? She demands. I have contacts, Ethan says. Financial advisors, lawyers who specialize in tricky contracts, people who owe me favors in marketing. I cannot hand you a blank check. That would raise too many questions. But I can help you restructure your loans, renegotiate with the bank, and turn Fendler Manor into a destination instead of a struggling B&B. Lena's heart thuds. It sounds too good, she says. It sounds like a business deal. Ethan says. You keep your home. I get a way to push back against a future I do not want. We both walk away better off when it is over. When it is over, she repeats softly. The words taste like something bitter. Mia pushes off the counter. What is the catch? She asks. 2 catches, Ethan says. 1, this has to look real. Not just to my parents, to everyone. The town, social media, whoever shows up at that gala. That means I stay here. We go out together. We act like a couple. We will have to be convincing. He looks almost apologetic. Which leads to catch 2. He adds. Feelings get messy. Lines blur. We will need rules. Mia snorts. Oh, this is going to end well, she says. Lena chews her bottom lip. Images flicker in her mind. Harvey's smug face. The blueprint that erased her home. The foreclosure letters. The roses under bulldozers. She looks at Ethan. What if your parents do not buy it? She asks. What if they decide I am not enough of a threat to their plans? Then I will find another way. He says calmly. I am not asking you to fix my life. I am offering to tie our problems together for a while, so we both have a better shot at solving them. His honesty disarms her more than any charm could. Mia slides the foreclosure notice away from the middle of the table. Okay, she says. Let us say Lena agrees. We will need boundaries. No surprise announcements. No moving money around without talking first. No throwing her under the bus in front of your parents to look rebellious. Ethan raises his hands. Agreed, he says. This only works if you trust me. I will earn it, or I do not get my fake girlfriend. Lena laughs despite herself. Wow, she says. Romantic. He grins. I can do romantic too, he says. But first, I suggest we get a contract in writing. Expectations, time frame, compensation. You deserve protection as much as the manor does. Lena hesitates. You sure you want to put this on paper? She asks. Fake relationships usually stay verbal in the movies. In my world, Ethan says, things without paper mysteriously vanish. We will write it in a way that protects you and does not raise flags for my family. He looks at her, suddenly serious. Lena, he says. Harvey is not going to stop. The bank will not magically grow a conscience. You can keep fighting alone. You are doing it already. Or you can let me stand next to you and take some of the hits. Mia nudges Lena with her elbow. You know what your grandmother would say. She murmurs. Sometimes the right ally is the difference between a good harvest and a ruined field. Lena's throat tightens. Her grandmother believed in community, in shared burdens. She also believed in trusting her instincts. Those instincts are buzzing now, loud and insistent. She reaches for a pen. Fine, she says softly. Let us write a contract. Ethan smiles, slow and relieved. Thank you, he says. Mia claps her hands once. Ground rule number 1. She announces. You two do not get to make hard eyes at each other while I am in the room. It is rude. Lena rolls her eyes. There are no hard eyes, she says. Ethan's gaze catches hers. Not yet, he says lightly. Heat curls low in Lena's stomach. Later that night, when the ink is dry and Ethan has moved his duffel bag into the blue guest room that looks over the rose garden, Lena lies awake listening to unfamiliar footsteps above her. The contract lies on her nightstand. Fake dating, shared problems, a stranger who stepped between her and the bulldozers. It is more risk than she has ever taken. It is also the first real hope she has had since the bank letters began. Outside, the summer wind sighs through the roses, as if the manor itself is exhaling. By the next weekend, the manor feels less like a crumbling inheritance and more like a project under construction. Ethan spends his mornings in the gardens with Lena, sleeves rolled up, dirt on his hands. He asks questions about soil acidity and irrigation lines as if he has always cared about flower beds. Afternoons, he disappears into the small office off the foyer with his laptop and phones, juggling calls with people who speak in rapid financial shorthand. Mia keeps them both alive with coffee and sarcasm. You two look like a Pinterest board titled Hot Couple Saves Old House, she says one afternoon, leaning in the doorway while Lena and Ethan argue over where to place a new swing in the orchard. It is not about aesthetics, Ethan says. It is about foot traffic. You just want an excuse to push me on a swing. Lena shoots back. He smirks. Not denying it. He says. In the evenings, they spread papers across the dining table. Ethan helps Lena translate the bank language into something human. He drafts emails, coaches her through phone calls, and introduces her to a woman named Priya who specializes in restructuring small business debt. We are not miracle workers, Priya warns over video chat. But with the tourism potential you have, there is room to renegotiate. We show the bank a realistic business plan and proof of new income. They may extend your timeline. A realistic business plan. Lena repeats. That is where we come in. Ethan says. He has already drawn up a rough schedule on a legal pad. His handwriting is messy but precise. Your honey is good enough to sell as a premium product, he says. Your gardens are Instagram bait. Weddings are nice, but what you need is repeat traffic. Weekend tours, garden workshops, farm-to-table dinners. There is a market for authentic experiences. Lena presses her fingers to her temples. I am one person, she says. Two, if you count Mia. We cannot turn this place into a resort overnight. Good. Ethan says. We do not want a resort. We want exactly what this place already is, just amplified. He taps the schedule. We start small. He says. Garden tours twice a month. Honey tastings. A soft launch. We document everything online. We show the bank interest and deposits and bookings. We prove Fendler Manor is a living business, not a sinking ship. Mia whistles. I am going to need more cinnamon rolls, she says. The first garden tour is scheduled for a Saturday in late June. Lena barely sleeps the night before. She spends days pruning the roses, cleaning the guest bathrooms, arranging mason jars of wildflowers along the paths. Ethan hangs string lights in the courtyard and fixes the glitchy pump in the fountain. When the morning sun slides over the hill, there is already a line of cars outside the gates. Lena's stomach flips. How did this happen? She asks. Ethan lifts his phone. I might have posted a few photos, he admits, and called a food blogger I know, and a local travel writer, and a lifestyle influencer with a soft spot for flowers. You called 3 people, Lena says faintly. And this many showed up? 4, he corrects. I also posted a picture of you holding a honey jar. Mia cackles. Thirst trap marketing, she says. I approve. Lena glares at Ethan, but her cheeks warm when she remembers the photo. She had been laughing at something Mia said, hair tangled by the wind, sunlight making the honey glow in the jar. Ethan had snapped the shot without asking. Focus, Lena mutters. We have actual humans to impress. The gates swing open. Families, couples, and curious locals wander in, phones out, faces lit with interest. Lena leads the first tour down the main path, explaining the history of the manor, the names of the older roses, the way her grandmother grafted species to survive harsh winters. Her voice trembles at first. Then she catches sight of Ethan leaning against a stone pillar, watching her with quiet pride, and the nerves fade. She knows these gardens. She loves them. That love spills into her words. Kids gasp when she shows them the beehives. Adults crowd around the tasting table where Mia has laid out slices of fresh bread, butter, and different honeys labeled by season. It tastes like sunlight. One woman sighs after a spoonful. Put that on the label, Mia tells Ethan. He makes a note. The travel writer grills Lena about pricing and seasonal events. Do you host autumn festivals? She asks. Winter holiday markets? We could. Lena says slowly, seeing the manor through the woman's eyes for the first time, as a place with potential in every season. Pumpkin carving under the oak. Hot cider in the courtyard. Christmas lights along the hedges. Ethan's hand brushes her elbow, a silent yes. By noon, the cash box is heavier than it has been in months. People book return visits, sign up for an email list, and tag Fendler Manor in their posts. At 3 in the afternoon, Harvey shows up. He arrives in a pressed polo shirt instead of a suit, sunglasses perched on his nose, as if he just happened to drop by. Collins is with him, expression stiff. I see you have organized a little fair, Harvey says when Lena meets them at the gate. Cute. It is a tour day, Lena says. We are fully booked. For how long? He asks. A week. 2. Internet fads vanish fast, Lena. The bank is not going to be distracted by cupcakes and selfies. Lena holds his gaze. We have a new debt plan, she says. The bank is considering it. Harvey snorts. The bank is considering your family name, he says. They know I will buy this property the second they close on it. They will make more money off me than they ever will off your little honey jars. He glances around. Enjoy your party, he says. The wrecking crew will still come. Before Lena can respond, a bright voice rings out. Excuse me. A woman in a floral dress says, approaching with a camera. Are you Miss Fendler? Yes, Lena says. I am from the city lifestyle blog Ethan mentioned. The woman says. Your story is wonderful. Young woman fights to save family manor with sustainable tourism? My readers will eat it up. She notices Harvey. Are you her father? She asks. Her uncle. Harvey says smoothly. The one trying to talk sense into. He is the one trying to sell the manor to a developer. Mia cuts in, appearing at Lena's side with the timing of a sitcom character. He wants to turn the rose fields into a parking lot. The blogger's eyes widen. Oh, she says. That is not a great look. She lifts her camera. Can I get a shot of you 3? She asks. Maybe with the house in the background? Harvey's smile snaps back on. Of course, he says, stepping forward. I was thinking more of the women actually running the place. The blogger says cheerfully. And maybe Ethan. Ethan joins them, sliding an arm around Lena's shoulders like it is the most natural thing in the world. His palm rests warmly against her arm. The camera loves you too, the blogger says as she snaps a series of photos. What is your story? Lena opens her mouth, but Ethan speaks first. I was just a guest. He says, eyes on Lena. Then I fell in love with the manor. And the woman saving it. Irrelevant bones in Lena's body melt. The blogger practically glows. That is going in the headline. She says. Harvey's jaw works. You really are determined to embarrass yourself. He says under his breath as the blogger walks away. Parading around with a tenant, playing house for strangers. It will not save this place. Maybe not. Lena says. But at least I am trying without selling my grandmother's legacy to the highest bidder. You think your grandmother would choose you over the Fendler fortune? Harvey hisses. She wanted this name to mean power, not a struggling petting zoo. Lena does not flinch. My grandmother wanted this place to feel like home to anyone who needed it. She says. Power was always secondary. Harvey stares at her like he is seeing a stranger. Then you never knew her at all. He says. He storms off, dragging Collins with him. After the last guest leaves and the sun sinks low, Lena and Ethan sit on the back steps with 2 glasses of sparkling lemonade, sweat drying on their skin. I should not let him get to me, Lena says. But he is family. It is like he keeps trying to rewrite who my grandmother was. You know the truth. Ethan says. So do the people who loved her. That is what matters. He bumps his shoulder against hers. Also, in case you did not notice, you just pulled off a successful launch event. He says. The bank is going to love those numbers. Lena smiles, tired and bright. You were right. She admits. About the experiences. People did not want a perfect resort. They wanted a real place with real bees and dirt and slightly crooked fences. Imperfection is honest. Ethan says. It is easier to fall in love with. His words hang between them. Lena clears her throat. And that thing you said to the blogger. She blurts. About falling in love with the woman saving the manor. That was for the story, right? Ethan's gaze drops to her mouth, then lifts again. Of course, he says lightly. We are supposed to look convincing. Her chest tightens at the slight hesitation. Right, she says. Convincing. Mia cracks open the screen door behind them. If you two are done making my lemonade look like a prop in a romance movie, she says. I need help counting the cash. Lena stands, grateful for the interruption. Ethan lingers for a second, fingers brushing the worn edge of the step where years of footsteps have smoothed the stone. He wants to tell her he meant every word. He does not. Not yet. The article hits the internet 2 weeks later. Mia finds it first. She bursts into the kitchen waving her phone like a trophy, while Lena is elbow-deep in bread dough. We are famous, she announces. Well, locally famous. Which is honestly better. Less paparazzi, more pie. Lena wipes flour on her apron and takes the phone. The headline reads. Young heiress fights to save Heritage Manor with roses, honey, and a fake-looking too-real boyfriend. Photos of the gardens fill the screen. There is one of Lena laughing beside the hives, one of Ethan pouring honey onto a slice of bread, one of them standing shoulder to shoulder under the oak, his hand resting at the small of her back. Lena's stomach somersaults. They really leaned into the romance angle. She mumbles. Of course they did. Mia says. Your faces are your best marketing assets. The article gushes about sustainable tourism, community events, and the undeniable chemistry between Lena Fendler and her mysterious tenant, Ethan. It ends with a call to action for readers to book tours and support small family businesses. Within hours, the manor's inbox fills with inquiries. The phone rings off the hook. By the end of the week, every tour slot through August is booked. Couples ask about weddings. A cooking school wants to host a retreat. A streaming service inquires about filming here. The bank is going to faint. Priya says over video chat when she sees the updated spreadsheets. In a good way. For once, Harvey seems to stay away. Which is why Lena should have known he was planning something bigger. The trap is sprung at the Midsummer Charity Gala. It is held in town at the old train station, now converted into an event hall with exposed brick, twinkling lights, and a band that plays jazz covers of pop songs. The gala raises money for a children's reading program. Fendler Manor has donated a weekend stay and garden tour package to the silent auction. You two need to show your faces. Priya advised. It is good publicity. Also, donors with deep pockets love a good love story. So Lena puts on her one good dress, a pale blue thing her grandmother bought her for a cousin's wedding, and Mia pins her hair up with sprigs of lavender. Ethan appears in a dark suit that fits him obscenely well, tie slightly loosened. Wow. Mia says. You clean up like a leading man in a movie about emotional growth. Ethan offers Lena his arm. Ready, partner? He asks. As I will ever be, she says. For the first hour, it is almost easy. They make small talk with town leaders. People gush about the article and the manor. Ethan fetches Lena drinks, gently steers conversations away from painful topics, and looks at her like she hung the moon whenever someone mentions their relationship. It feels dangerously unfake. Halfway through the evening, as Lena stands by the auction table, admiring a painting of the lake, she hears a familiar voice. There she is. Harvey says loudly. Our charming little hostess from the countryside. Lena turns, heart-dropping. Harvey stands near the stage in a tuxedo that looks freshly pressed from an expensive box. Beside him is a woman Lena does not recognize, tall, elegant, and dressed in a gown that screams old money. Cameras hover nearby, drawn by the scent of something dramatic. Ethan goes still at Lena's side. That is not good. He murmurs. Who is she? Lena asks under her breath. Vivian Astor. He says. Her family owns Astor Holdings. My mother's favorite candidate. Lena's fingers tighten around her clutch. Candidate for what? She asks, though she already knows. My arranged bride. Ethan says. The room quiets as Harvey taps the microphone. Thank you all for coming. He booms. I have a special surprise addition to tonight's program. A story about family, legacy, and choices. Lena's skin crawls. Ethan. She starts. Stay close. He says. Harvey gestures grandly. We all know Fendler Manor. He says. Some of you have visited recently. It has become quite the social media darling. Young Lena here fighting heroically to save her crumbling estate, with the help of a mysterious tenant. Touching, is it not? A ripple of polite laughter moves through the crowd. Harvey smiles thinly. But as with all good stories, there is a twist. He continues. And I believe the community deserves the truth. He nods to someone near the back. A projector whirs to life, casting a giant image onto the brick wall. It is a photo of Ethan in a tuxedo, standing on the steps of a glass skyscraper, shaking hands with an older man Lena recognizes from business magazines. A caption runs underneath in bold letters. Ethan Thorne, heir to Thorne Global. Lena's lungs forget how to work. Whispers explode around them. Thorne. The hotel chain. Heir. Harvey looks delighted. You see. He says. Lena's starving artist is not starving at all. He is one of the richest men in the country, slumming it in her guest room, while she parades him around as a tragic romantic hero. He clucks his tongue. One might almost think this whole thing is a performance. He says. A calculated publicity stunt. Lena hears her own pulse roaring in her ears. She turns to Ethan. Is it true? She whispers. He does not look away. Yes. He says quietly. I was going to tell you. I just needed time. The projector flashes through more images. Ethan at industry conferences. Ethan on magazine covers. Ethan at a charity event with Vivian Astor on his arm. Harvey spreads his arms. The Thorne family has been circling this region for years. He says. Looking for properties. Investments. How convenient that their heir shows up on Lena's doorstep just as the bank closes in. How convenient that he pays an inflated rent. How convenient that he has all the resources needed to snatch Fendler Manor from under our noses. He leans into the microphone. What if? He says, voice dropping theatrically. The plan was never to save the manor, but to deliver it to corporate interests. What if our local heroine is just a pawn in a much larger game? Gasps. Stares. Flashing cameras. Lena feels the floor tilt. Say something. She whispers. Ethan steps forward, jaw tight. Harvey is twisting facts to fit his narrative. He says into the microphone. Yes, I am Ethan Thorne. Yes, my family owns properties. No, they do not know I am here. I came to Fendler Manor for my own reasons. I signed a legitimate lease. I am helping Lena because I believe this place deserves to be preserved, not parceled out. Harvey laughs. Of course you say that. He scoffs. But your name alone is a threat. The bank will listen when you speak. The developers will come when you call. We cannot ignore the power imbalance here. He turns to the crowd. Ask yourselves. He says. Will this end with Fendler Manor still in local hands? Or will it become another line in a corporate portfolio? Dozens of eyes swing back to Lena. She feels stripped bare. Lena. Someone calls. Did you know who he was? The question slices through the room. She grips the edge of the auction table until her knuckles whiten. No, she says, voice cracking. I did not. More whispers, some sympathetic, some skeptical. You see. Harvey crows. She did not even know whose bed she was making. Poor child. Ethan's face hardens. Stop. He says sharply. You do not get to talk about her like she is an idiot. She is the only one here actually doing something to help this town. Your plan would replace jobs with minimum wage positions in a resort your neighbors could never afford to stay in. And yours would risk everything on feelings. Harvey shoots back. We are in a war for this land, Ethan. War requires strategy, not sentiment. He looks at Lena. Think about it. He says. If you had signed my deal, you would have security and cash. Instead, you are tangled up with a man whose family could swallow you whole. He steps away from the microphone. Consider my words a public service announcement. He says. The community should know what game is being played. The band starts up again, too loudly, trying to smooth over the explosion that just went off. Lena cannot breathe. I need air, she says. She turns and pushes through the crowd, ignoring the calls of her name. She bursts out onto the loading dock behind the building, where the night is cooler and smells like rain. Footsteps follow. Lena. Ethan says. Please, wait. She spins around. How long? She demands. How long have you been lying to me? I never lied. He says. I just did not tell you everything. That is not better. She says, voice shaking. You watched me fight with him, listened to him throw the word fortune at my face, and you stood there with a private jet in your back pocket. He flinches. It is not that simple. He says. It feels simple. She snaps. You did not trust me. You decided for me how much I was allowed to know. You turned my life into a story piece for your rebellion against your parents. His shoulders sag. That is not what this is. He says. I care about you, about this place. The contract was leverage, yes, but I meant every word when I said I wanted to help. You should have told me on the first day, she says. When you stepped between me and Harvey, when you wrote your name on that lease, when you slept under my roof. Tears burn behind her eyes. Do you know what it feels like? She whispers. To be the last person in the room to understand what game is being played with your home? Ethan steps closer. I was afraid. He says quietly. Afraid if I told you, you would throw me out. Afraid of becoming the thing you hate most. Another rich man trying to own your world. You became that anyway, she says. The hurt on his face almost undoes her. I do not know how to fix this. He says. But I am not leaving the fight. Even if you never look at me the same way again, I will not let Harvey win. She shakes her head. I cannot do this right now, she says. Not with cameras in there, not with half the town listening. I need space. He swallows. I will give you space. He says. But please believe this much, I did not come here to steal Fendler Manor. I came here because I needed somewhere real, and then I met you, and everything changed. Lightning flickers on the horizon. Lena wraps her arms around herself. Go back inside, she says. Smile for the cameras with your almost fiancé. That is not what she is. He says. It is what Harvey wants them to believe. Lena says. And right now, I do not have the strength to fight both of you at once. She turns and walks down the alley, away from the glow of the gala. Ethan stands alone on the loading dock, rain beginning to dot his suit shoulders, the weight of his name finally catching up with him. Inside, Harvey watches from the window, satisfied. Every mask has to crack eventually. He has just made sure Ethan's broke in the most public way possible. Lena does not sleep the night of the gala. Thunder rolls over the hills as she drives back to the manor. Lightning flashes through the car windows, briefly illuminating the stone walls and dark windows. The roses thrash in the wind like they are angry too. She parks crookedly, runs through the rain, and slams the front door behind her. The house creaks around her, old wood shifting with the storm. The familiarity steadies her. This is mine. She whispers into the empty foyer. This is still mine. Mia appears at the top of the stairs in pajamas and a messy bun, phone in hand. I saw the posts, she says. Are you okay? No, Lena says. But I am not broken. She tells Mia everything in the kitchen, words tumbling out in a messy rush. The reveal. The photos. The way Ethan looked at her. The ache in her chest that feels worse than any foreclosure notice. Mia listens without interrupting, then sets a mug of tea in front of her. Okay, she says. First of all, your uncle remains trash. Second, Ethan should have told you. Third, the fact that he did not tell you does not automatically mean he is secretly plotting to bulldoze the manor. He should have trusted me, Lena says. Instead, he let Harvey control the story. True, Mia says. But ask yourself this: has he, at any point since he arrived, acted like a guy laying groundwork to steal your land? Lena thinks of Ethan fixing the irrigation system in the rain, staying up late to help her with spreadsheets, gently redirecting wedding clients toward local caterers, instead of pushing some corporate vendor. No, she admits. People can be cowards about their secrets and still mean well, Mia says. Does not make it hurt less. But if we let Harvey's version of events become the only one, he wins twice. He ruins your heart and your home. Lena stares into her tea. What if she is right? She whispers. What if letting Ethan stay here gives his family an opening to claim the manor? Mia's eyes glint. Then we find protections Harvey has not considered. She says. He underestimates you because he sees you as a sentimental girl. Let us make that his mistake. They start with the one person who understood the manor better than anyone, Lena's grandmother. Lena fetches the old steamer trunk from the attic. It is filled with decades of receipts, letters, faded photographs, and a stack of leather-bound journals. Her grandmother recorded everything: planting dates, weather patterns, local gossip, quiet reflections on grief and joy. Lena and Mia spend hours flipping through pages, looking for anything about banks, contracts, or hidden accounts. Near dawn, Mia taps a page. Here, she says. Listen. Lena reads aloud. If the vultures ever circle this land, the roots will still protect it. The roses know where the old promises sleep. She frowns. That sounds like one of her metaphors. She says. Maybe, Mia says. Or maybe your grandmother was being literal. They search again, this time focusing on any mention of promises and roots. In a later journal, they find a more detailed entry. Met with Mr. Caldwell in town today. Lena reads. Signed final version of covenant. As long as the Fendler heir maintains residence and the land remains partially open to the public, no one can sell without their explicit consent. Copies with lawyer, bank, and one in the safest place I know, under the oldest roses, where your grandfather first kissed me. Lena's heart slams into her ribs. The oldest roses. She whispers. The original Fendler hybrid. The ones by the south wall. Mia grins. Looks like we are going treasure hunting, she says. The rain has eased to a drizzle when they pull on boots and head to the south wall. The sky is a pale gray bruise. Birds are just starting to stir. The oldest rosebush is a sprawling, thorny giant, its blooms deep crimson even in the half-light. Lena's grandmother used to say it was the heart of the garden. Carefully, they dig at the base, working around the roots. A foot down, Lena's shovel hits metal. Her breath catches. They unearth a small iron box, rusted but intact. Lena wipes mud from the lid with shaking hands and pries it open. Inside, wrapped in oilcloth, is a bundle of documents and a velvet pouch. The pouch holds a handful of antique jewelry, a locket, a ring, and a necklace set with tiny, age-softened diamonds. The documents are surprisingly crisp. At the top of the stack is a formal covenant agreement, stamped and notarized, dated decades ago. It states, in legal language, exactly what her grandmother wrote. As long as a direct Fendler heir lives at the manor and keeps a portion of the land open to the community, the property cannot be sold, transferred, or mortgaged without their consent. Any attempt to do so can be blocked by invoking the covenant in court. Lena stares at the paper until the words blur. She left me a shield. She whispers. The whole time, she left me a shield. Mia exhales. And some serious jewelry. She adds, examining the ring. This alone could probably fund a new roof. Lena laughs, half hysterical. We will appraise it later, she says. Right now, we need to get copies of this covenant to Priya and the lawyer before Harvey sniffs anything out. As if summoned by his name, a car engine growls in the distance. Mia looks up. Tell me that is the mail truck, she says. It is not. Harvey's sedan swings into the drive faster than usual, followed by the developer's SUV. They climb out with purpose, accompanied by a man in a suit Lena recognizes as a bank representative. Great, Mia mutters. Morning vultures. Harvey strides toward them, lips thin. You are up early, he says. Packing? No, Lena says, folding the covenant back into the box. Gardening. The bank rep clears his throat. Miss Fendler, he says. We have reviewed your file. Given the public attention around the property and the confirmed interest from East Ridge Development, The board has voted to accelerate foreclosure proceedings. Unless you can present substantial new information, the manor will be seized within 30 days. Mia's eyes flash. Substantial new information like, say, a legal covenant that blocks any sale without Lena's consent. She asks. Harvey stiffens. What covenant? He demands. Lena holds the box a little tighter. The one my grandmother signed with your father and the bank's predecessor, she says. The one that says as long as I live here and keep part of the land open to the public, no one can sell this manor over my head. She pulls out the document and hands it to the bank rep. He scans it, frowning, then looks at Harvey. Is this accurate? He asks. Harvey's face goes pale. That agreement is ancient. He sputters. It cannot still be. It was drafted as a binding covenant. The bank rep says slowly. And I see no record of it being revoked. Why was this not in the file? Harvey recovers quickly. Because it complicates things unnecessarily. He says. We are talking about progress. You cannot let some old sentimental clause derail a lucrative deal. Our bank cannot ignore a binding covenant. The rep says. Especially one that ties our hands legally. We will need to consult our legal department. He looks at Lena. In the meantime, he says. The foreclosure timeline is paused. You will still need to address your debt, but the property cannot be transferred without resolving this covenant. Pauses. Lena can breathe. Thank you, she says. Harvey looks like he might choke on his own rage. You always were her favorite. He snarls. She gave you everything and left me scraps. Even from the grave she meddles. She left you a position on the manor's trust. Lena says calmly. You sold it. He flushes. That was a business decision. He snaps. So is enforcing this covenant. She replies. His gaze becomes sharp, cold. You think a piece of paper can protect you forever? He says. You have no idea how this world works. He turns on his heel and storms back to his car. The developer lingers a moment longer, studying Lena with new respect. Not many people stand up to Harvey and walk away intact. He says. If you ever decide to partner on your terms, call me. He hands her a card and leaves. Silence settles over the courtyard. Mia exhales dramatically. That felt good, she says. I would have preferred dumping a bucket of compost on his head, but this works too. Lena clutches the covenant to her chest. For the first time, the manor is not completely at the mercy of his greed. She says. Grandma, you brilliant, stubborn woman. Later that day, as they scan the documents for Priya, a knock sounds at the front door. Lena's heart stutters. She opens it to find Ethan on the steps, rain-damp and exhausted, his tie gone, shirt sleeves rolled up. I know I am the last person you want to see right now, he says before she can speak. But I heard about the bank visit. I came as fast as I could. Mia appears in the hall behind Lena, arms folded. You two need to talk, she says. I will be in the kitchen pretending not to eavesdrop. She disappears. Lena and Ethan stand in the foyer, the air tight with unsaid things. I saw the covenant, he says. It is incredible. Your grandmother basically outmaneuvered every vulture in New York. Unlike some people, Lena says quietly. He winces. I deserve that, he says. And I am here to admit it. I should have told you who I was. I let my fear make choices for both of us. That is not fair. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out his phone. I also called my family's legal team, he says. Not my parents. They're lawyers. I told them Harvey Fendler is using my name to pressure a local bank into favoring his deals. That he is implying Thorn Global is behind a development we have nothing to do with. Lena's eyes widen. What did they say? She asks. That if he keeps using our name without authorization, they will file for defamation and interference. Ethan says. Thorn Global has a lot of flaws, but it protects its brand like a dragon guards gold. Harvey just painted a target on himself. He takes a breath. And that is not all, he says. I asked our internal investigators to look into his finances. The man is sloppy. He has been using shell companies to siphon money from small projects for years. If we hand that to the right authorities, he will not have the capital to bother you for a long time. Lena swallows. You are going to destroy him, she says. I am going to hold him accountable. Ethan says. You can decide how far to push. This is your fight. I am offering artillery. He meets her gaze. I still want to be your partner, he says. Not just on paper, not just for a fake relationship, for real, but I know I have to earn that back. So I am starting here, with what I am good at, strategy. Lena looks down at the covenant in her hand, then back at the man, who has turned his inheritance into a weapon against her worst enemy. Harvey will say this proves you are exactly what he accused you of, she says. A rich man using his power to shape this place's future. Ethan nods. He is not entirely wrong. He says. The difference is, I am using that power in service of your vision instead of mine. The honesty of it slices through her defenses. She steps aside. Come in, she says. We have a war to plan. For the first time since the gala, hope does not feel like betrayal. It feels like an alliance. The fallout arrives faster than anyone expects. Within a week, the bank receives a formal letter from Thorn Global's legal department denying any involvement in East Ridge Development's plans and warning against misuse of our client's name in local negotiations. Attached is a quiet reminder of the covenant Lena produced and a suggestion that honoring legacy agreements is good for public relations. At the same time, state investigators open an inquiry into Harvey's business dealings. Anonymous tips, backed by Thorn-funded auditors, point to irregularities in his accounts. He does not go down in a blaze of drama. There is no cinematic arrest on the manor lawn. Instead, there are hushed meetings, frozen assets, and contracts quietly revoked. His partners stop returning his calls. The bank distances itself. One afternoon, Lena watches from the kitchen window as Harvey's sedan crawls up the drive at a speed that looks almost reluctant. He steps out without his usual entourage. His suit hangs looser. The arrogance is still there, but it is cracked. Lena meets him on the steps. You have 5 minutes, she says. Then I call my lawyer. Harvey's gaze flicks to the roses, the fountain, the windows. When I was your age, he says. This place felt like a cage. Your grandmother loved it more than anything. I wanted skyscrapers, not soil. I thought she was a fool for clinging to it. He looks older than 60, suddenly. I spent my life chasing deals so big they did not need roots, he says. Now I am realizing I built everything on sand. Lena crosses her arms. Is this a confession, or a pity speech? She asks. Both, he says. I am not here to apologize. I still believe the manor could have made us all very rich. It is making something better than that, Lena says. It is making a life. He huffs out a breath. You sound just like her, he says. I will take that as a compliment, she replies. He glances toward the drive, where Ethan's black car is parked. The Thorn boy is dangerous, he says. Not because of what he can take from you, because of what he can give. Dependency is its own chain. Lena lifts her chin. We have a contract, she says. One I wrote. I know where his power ends and mine begins. Her uncle studies her for a long moment, then nods once. Maybe you do, he says. Maybe that is what scared me most. You are building something I never understood. He turns to leave, then pauses. The investigators will find what they find, he says. I will land on my feet. Men like me always do, but the manor will not be mine. That much is clear. It never was, Lena says. Harvey walks back to his car, shoulders bowed in a way she has never seen. The sedan rolls down the drive and disappears for what might be the last time. Mia appears beside Lena, holding 2 glasses of lemonade. Did he grovel? She asks. Not exactly, Lena says. But he looked small. Good. Mia says. Come on. Your boyfriend is pacing in the orchard like a lovesick ghost. Go put him out of his misery. Lena laughs, the sound light in her chest. Ethan waits under the oak tree where they hung the swing. He has ditched the suit jacket in favor of a white shirt with rolled sleeves. Sunlight filters through the leaves, painting moving patterns on his face. How did it go? He asks. Less dramatic than I imagined, she says. More honest than he probably intended. She steps closer. Thank you, she adds. For everything you did behind the scenes. You did not have to. Yes, I did, he says. I helped break your trust. I needed to help fix what I could. He hitches one shoulder. Also, ruining Harvey's day was satisfying. She smiles. The covenant gave us legal protection, she says. You gave us teeth. Together, it worked. That sounds like a pretty good description of us in general, he says. The silence that follows is not awkward, it is full. So, Lena says. About our contract. Ethan's jaw tightens. If you want to end it, I understand, he says. The fake dating, the gala, all of it. I will tell my parents whatever you need me to. That we broke up. That I am too in love with this place to leave. They will be disappointed, but they will cope. He takes a breath. I do not want to walk away, he says quietly. Not from the manor, not from you. But I will not hold you to a deal that hurts you. Lena looks at him, at the man who arrived in a sports car, and an alias, and somehow became the person she cannot imagine this place without. The foreclosure risk is under control, she says. Thanks to the covenant, the tours, the bookings. The bank approved the restructuring plan yesterday. The manor is safe. His shoulders sag with relief. That is incredible, he says. You did it. We did it. She corrects. She steps close enough that she can smell the clean scent of his cologne under the lingering trace of soil on his hands. The contract was originally about survival, she says. Yours and mine. It worked, but somewhere along the way, it became something else for me. Her heart thumps. I started looking forward to you roaming the kitchen at midnight, she says. To your terrible puns about bees. To the way you listen when I rant about irrigation. To the fact that you never treat this place like a project. You treat it like a home. His eyes shine. It is starting to feel like that, he admits. I have never stayed anywhere this long without booking a return flight. She swallows. So if we are talking about ending our contract, she says, I would rather renegotiate than terminate. His brows lift. Renegotiate. He repeats. She nods. Less legal language, she says. More forever. A slow, hopeful smile curves his mouth. I can work with that, he says. But for the record, I am going to need the terms in writing. I am a contracts guy. She laughs. Fine, she says. Here is my offer, you stay. Not as a tenant. Not as a fake boyfriend. As someone who is building this with me. We keep the manor open to the world, on our terms. We fight when necessary. We make up with honey and coffee, and maybe occasional kissing. Interested? Very, he says, voice rough. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small box. I was going to wait until the end of summer, he says. But since we are renegotiating, he opens it. Inside, nestled in velvet, is a ring made from intertwined bands of gold and rose-colored metal, set with a small diamond that catches the sunlight. The design echoes the vines climbing the manor walls. I had it made using gold from an old family signet I never wanted to wear, he says. I wanted something that belonged to us, not them. Lena's vision blurs. Ethan, she whispers. He takes her hand. Lena Fendler, he says. Will you marry me, stay stubborn with me, and co-own every sunrise this manor has left? Her laugh comes out as a sob. Yes, she says. Obviously yes. He slides the ring onto her finger. It fits as if it has always been there, just waiting. They kiss under the oak tree, the manor rising solid and bright behind them, the roses nodding in the breeze as if in approval. Later that evening, the courtyard fills with people for a midsummer dinner. Fairy lights glow. Children chase each other around the fountain. Locals sit side by side with city visitors, all of them eating food that tastes like home. Mia clinks a spoon against a glass. Attention, everyone, she says. As of today, Fendler Manor is officially off the market forever. Our girl kept her house, caught her man, and has a ring to prove it. Please drink, eat, and do not spill wine on the flower beds. Laughter ripples through the crowd. Lena squeezes Ethan's hand. This is what I wanted, she says softly. Not money, not headlines, just this. Then we will keep it, he says. Season after season. The sky darkens to a deep, warm blue. Fireflies blink over the fields. Somewhere, music starts up and people begin to dance. Under the summer stars, in the manor that refused to be sold, Lena and Ethan spin in the grass, their future not guaranteed, but finally, undeniably, theirs.
Thanks for watching. Follow for more romance stories.